NASA just revealed the San Andreas Fault cracked, causing shocking flooding. The director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, Thomas Jordan, recently warned that the southern portion of the San Andreas Fault is locked, loaded, and ready to go. This means that there has been a lot of stress building up along the fault, and it is only a matter of time before it releases in a major earthquake. The San Andreas Fault is one of many fault systems that mark the boundary between the Pacific and North American tectonic plates. These plates are constantly moving, and the Pacific plate is moving faster than the North American plate. This means that the plates are constantly grinding against each other, which creates stress. As you know, the San Andreas Fault is a major fault line that runs through California. It's responsible for some of the most devastating earthquakes in history, and it's been overdue for a major quake for some time. Well, NASA has just released new satellite images that show that the San Andreas Fault is starting to crack. And not only that, but the images also show that there's been some significant flooding in the area. This is all very concerning, and it's a sign that the fault is becoming increasingly unstable. So, what does this mean for us? Well, it means that we need to be prepared for the possibility of a major earthquake along the San Andreas Fault. We need to have a plan in place, and we need to make sure that we're stocked up on supplies. In the past, this stress has been released in major earthquakes. For example, the 1906 San Francisco earthquake was a magnitude 7.8 event, and the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake was a magnitude 6.9 event. However, there has not been a major earthquake along the San Andreas Fault in the south of California since 1857. This means that there is a lot of stress that has built up along the fault. If it were to release, it would likely be a very large earthquake. Some experts believe that this earthquake could be the Big One, which is a term used to describe a major earthquake that could cause widespread damage. It is important to be prepared for the possibility of a major earthquake along the San Andreas Fault. You can do this by having an earthquake kit, knowing what to do during an earthquake, and being aware of the risks in your area. How big is big? The movie San Andreas depicts a 9.0 magnitude earthquake along the San Andreas Fault. While such an earthquake is possible in other parts of the world, it is not as likely to happen in California. Here, the tectonic plates are sliding past each other rather than one plate being forced below another. This means that the maximum possible magnitude of an earthquake along the San Andreas Fault is 8.0. There is a 7% chance that an earthquake of magnitude 8.0 could occur in Southern California in the next 30 years. There is also a 75% chance of a magnitude 7.0 event. While these magnitudes might sound similar, they represent a significant difference in the amount of energy released. A magnitude 9.0 earthquake releases 32 times more energy than a magnitude 8.0 earthquake, and 1,000 times more energy than a magnitude 7.0 earthquake. So, while a 9.0 magnitude earthquake is not impossible in California, it is much less likely than a smaller earthquake. If an earthquake does happen, it is important to be prepared. You can do this by having an earthquake kit and knowing what to do in the event of an earthquake. The movie San Andreas depicts a massive earthquake along the San Andreas Fault that causes widespread destruction, including a tsunami and a massive chasm. While the movie is entertaining, it's important to remember that it's not entirely realistic. For example, the San Andreas Fault is not beneath the ocean, so it couldn't actually generate a tsunami. And while the fault does cause the plates to move, they don't actually open up into a chasm. What is realistic, however, is that a large earthquake along the San Andreas Fault would cause a lot of damage. California's building codes are stringent, but there's no way to make a building 100% safe from an earthquake. Predicting devastation. The U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, modeled a 7.8 magnitude earthquake on the southern San Andreas Fault to understand the potential damage. The model found that the most severe damage would occur to structures straddling the fault, but fortunately, these are few and far between due to the Alquist-Priolo Earthquake Fault Zoning Act. However, the slippage would still affect 966 roads, 90 fiber optic cables, 39 gas pipes, and 141 power lines that cross the fault zone. The total cost of damage to buildings was estimated at $33 billion, with modern buildings faring well, but older buildings being particularly susceptible. Fires would likely rage as gas mains and water pipes are severed, and the damage from these fires is estimated to be more costly than that from the initial shaking. In addition to the physical damage, the earthquake would also have a significant impact on the economy and infrastructure of the region. The transportation system would be disrupted, businesses would be closed, and people would be displaced from their homes. The total cost of the earthquake is estimated to be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. The San Andreas Fault is a major fault line that runs through California. It is estimated that a major earthquake along the fault could cause significant damage and loss of life. The film San Andreas is a fictionalized account of such an earthquake, but it is not too far-fetched to imagine that something like this could happen in real life. The main event of an earthquake along the San Andreas Fault would likely cause widespread damage, including building collapses, fires, and power outages. The aftershocks that follow could also be very destructive. In the aftermath of such an earthquake, the region would be in a state of chaos, and it could take years for things to return to normal. While the prospect of a major earthquake along the San Andreas Fault is certainly daunting, Californians are no strangers to these events. The infrastructure of the state has been designed with earthquake protection in mind, and people are generally well prepared for such disasters. However, even with careful planning, there is no way to completely eliminate the risk of death and injury. The aftermath. One of the biggest concerns is the potential for gas leaks and explosions. The San Andreas Fault intersects with 39 gas and oil pipelines, and these pipelines could rupture, releasing gas into the air. This could ignite fires and explosions, which could cause widespread damage and loss of life. Another major concern is the loss of fresh water. The major aqueduct networks that pump water into Southern California all cross the San Andreas Fault, and these networks could be seriously damaged. This would mean that we would lose up to 60% of our water supply. In addition, the earthquake could also damage sewer lines, which could contaminate the water supply. This would create a serious public health hazard. The aftermath of a major earthquake along the San Andreas Fault would be a major disaster. It is important to be prepared for this possibility and to have a plan in place in case it happens. When the big one hits, it will cause widespread damage and disruption. Landslides will be a major problem and could cause fatalities and property damage. Major transportation networks will be unusable for weeks or even months, and some bridges may collapse. And finally, the big one will severely impact the economy. Major transportation networks, like highways and railways, could be unusable for weeks and even months. Some bridges may not be passable after an earthquake. We've had bridges collapse during past earthquakes. You might start seeing key industries leave, population loss, and this could have, devastating long-term impacts for the region. Everything a city relies on to function, water, electricity, sewage systems, telecommunications, roads, would be damaged and possibly not repaired for more than a year. The estimated financial cost of the big one is a whopping $200 billion. Of course, this is just a worst-case scenario. The true impact of a major earthquake will depend on a range of factors, including the magnitude of the earthquake and the location of the fault rupture. However, even a smaller earthquake on a fault directly beneath a major population center could have a devastating impact. What do you think of this shocking discovery? Let us know in the comments section below. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on more amazing videos and shocking new discoveries. Until next time, stay safe.